The gateway to ascension stood like a monument to impossibility, a perfect arch of crystalline matter that hummed with frequencies older than most civilizations. For 3 standard cycles, the pilgrimage had proceeded without incident. Hundreds of species from across the galactic assembly had passed through its shimmering threshold, each receiving their genetic clearance and spiritual blessing from the ancient mechanism. Ambassador Kelrix of the Voth Concordat watched with 4 of his eyes as another group approached. The delegation from Earth was small, just 5 humans, their fragile frames almost comical next to the towering Krahen warriors who had preceded them. The lead human, a diplomat named Chun, had the characteristic confidence his species was known for, that peculiar arrogance that came from being a young race who had clawed their way to spaceflight through nuclear fire and stubborn determination. For humans passed through without incident. The gates sang its approval, a resonant chime that indicated genetic compatibility with the ancient protocols. Standard procedure. Expected results. Then the 5th human stepped forward. She was young, perhaps barely into adulthood by human standards, with dark hair pulled back in the style their species favored for practical matters. Her credentials identified her as Dr. Sarah Chun, xenoarchaeologist, daughter of the delegation leader. She carried herself with the quiet determination Kelrix had learned to associate with human academics, that dangerous combination of curiosity and fearlessness. Sarah placed her hand on the scanning panel. The gate screamed. It wasn't a sound, exactly, more a psychic shockwave that rippled through every conscious mind in the chamber. Kelrix's sensory membranes contracted in alarm as the crystalline arch blazed with light patterns he had never seen in his 40 years of diplomatic service. Ancient glyphs materialized in the air, cycling through languages dead for eons before stabilizing into Galactic Standard. Alert! Descendant of Builders detected. Genetic marker Alpha Prime confirmed. Initiating recognition protocols. The chamber erupted into chaos. Security forces raised weapons they knew were useless against ancient technology. Diplomatic staff shouted into communicators. And Sarah Chun stood frozen, her hands still on the panel, eyes wide with shock as the gate began to restructure itself around her. What did you do? Ambassador Kelrix found himself demanding, his translator barely keeping pace with his racing thoughts. Nothing. Sarah's voice cracked. I don't understand. But Kelrix was beginning to understand, and the realization sent ice through his circulatory system. The Builders, the mythical progenitor race who had seeded the galaxy with gates and left behind the ruins that had haunted xenoarchaeologists for millennia. Everyone assumed they had vanished, ascended, or destroyed themselves. No one had ever considered they might have descendants. The gate pulsed, and new text materialized. Inheritance protocols activated. Administrative clearance. Absolute. Welcome home. Impossible, breathed the Krahen war chief, his battle-scarred face slack with disbelief. Humans are a Category 4 species. Barely 10,000 years of recorded history. They can't be. We're not special, Sarah said, but her voice wavered. We're just humans. We evolved on Earth. We have the fossil record, the genetic evidence. Builder seed population established. Earth Sol system. Dormancy period. 200,000 standard cycles. Awakening condition. Achievement of faster-than-light travel. Welcome to your inheritance, child of Terra. The implications crashed through the assembly like a tidal wave. Humanity wasn't a young species that had stumbled into the galactic community. They were the descendants of the Builders, left to develop in isolation until they proved themselves worthy by reaching the stars on their own merit. Sarah pulled her hand away, and the gate quieted, but the damage was done. Every species in the chamber was staring at the human delegation with new eyes. Eyes filled with fear, wonder, and the dawning realization that the political landscape of the galaxy had just fundamentally shifted. Ambassador Chun stepped forward, his diplomatic composure cracking. Sarah, what does this mean? His daughter looked at him, then at the gate, then at the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds. When she spoke, Her voice was small but steady. I think it means we just inherited the universe.